Welcome to today's Digital Dealer webinar. This webinar is sponsored by DealerRater. The topic is the do's and don'ts of third-party reviews and online reputation management. Today's speaker is Heather MacKinnon. She's the Vice President of Sales for DealerRater. The webinar today will be broadcasted through your computer speakers. If you're having trouble connecting your computer, please use the hand symbol below your name and alert me, Maria Burkell, and I'll send you the teleconference call-in information. When using the teleconference portion of the webinar today, you should see a pop-up window similar to the one to the right. Please use your telephone to dial in and use your attendee ID number as it is unique to you. If you are having any questions, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom right of your screen. If you're connected via the phone or the computer speakers, all lines will be muted. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Please use the Q&A section at the bottom right of your screen to type in questions. Today's moderator is Maureen Condon. She's the editor for Dealer Communications, Dealer, and Digital Dealer magazine. Maureen?
Thank you, Maria. I'd like to introduce our speaker today. It's Heather MacKinnon. Heather has graciously stepped in to take the place of Matt Lembereau, who was unable to be here today. Heather has been the Vice President of Sales at DealerRater for 3.5 years. And during that time, she has worked to bring 4,200 dealers into the DealerRater certification program. Heather has been offering online automotive solutions to dealers for the past 10 years and has worked in key positions at Autotrader.com, Day One Software, and CitySearch. Heather is passionate about bringing long-term solutions to dealers to help grow their businesses. Heather, would you like to begin?
Maureen, thanks for that warm welcome, and I just want to start off by thanking Digital Dealer for the opportunity to speak with all you folks today. And I really want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. I dealers all over the country pretty much each and every day, and the real purpose of my call here today is just to walk you through some best practices when it comes to online reputation management, and also talk about the do's and don'ts of third-party reviews and online reputation management. As Maureen mentioned, I've been with DealerRater for the better part of 3.5 years, and I've really seen this industry kind of change and evolve over the past 3 years. I think when I first started here, online reviews were barely even a mention. It was barely anything, dealers even thought about or vendors talked about. And it seems like now, everywhere you look, third-party reviews and online reputation management has really become a big, big buzz term in the automotive industry. But that said, it can become kind of an overwhelming project for many dealers. And the one thing we've always kind of there and believed in here at DealerRater is that online reputation management should be a very full and low-cost solution for the dealer. And it should be something that really your staff embraces and benefits from. So again, the purpose of my call here today is just kind of to walk you through some best practices, some changes that are going on to the industry, and some do's and don'ts. I know there's a Q&A section at the end of the training, or at the end of the call rather. I want to also let you know that at any time after this call, you could absolutely feel free to reach out to me direct. My direct email is heather@DealerRater.com, and I know we've got a whole mix of people on today's call, which is great to see. It looks like we've got a bunch of existing certified dealers that subscribe to our certification program on DealerRater, and then it looks like we've got some industry folks and a ton of dealers that don't currently work with DealerRater. So again, I hope this call is helpful to you all, and that you can get a little bit of new knowledge out of it. Agenda. Today we're going to talk about first why pay attention to online reputation. Okay, and many of you on this call, you've realized for a while that you need to start really paying attention to what consumers are saying about you online. And again, over the past 3 years, this has really built up momentum in any type of industry. Okay, many of you on this call, I'm sure you rely on third-party content, often for your everyday purchases. Okay, the influx in review sites, consumers going to sites like TripAdvisor before booking a hotel room, or perhaps Google before looking for a new restaurant to buy. Online reviews are really what consumers consider to be relevant information that they like to see before making a purchase or even considering going with a new service. Okay, so as a dealer, you got to be aware of what consumers are saying about you online. And what I've always said is online reviews are really no different than what a dealer has always experienced. Okay, you've always experienced consumer feedback. It might have been in the form of letters. It might have been in the form of calls to the dealership. The culture nowadays, as you all know, is it's immediate gratification. Social media, the ability to post online reviews, that's how consumers like to share their experience, both good and bad. So when you're a dealer, you get on top of it. If you're not on top of it today, you've got to get on top of it today. Very important to know what consumers are saying. We're going to also talk about the current landscape of dealer reviews. Again, as I mentioned, this has been a really evolving process over the past few years. The online review sites, the way they're displayed on the search engines, it's something that has really changed and evolved over time. So it's very important to really know the facts, okay, and know what to pay attention to when it comes to your dealership and online content. We're going to talk about 4 key steps in successful online reputation management. Again, these are 4 steps, folks, okay? Reputation management for an automotive dealer should be a very simple process. And the 4 steps that I'm going to talk about are the steps that we have encouraged our over 4,200 dealers to embrace and have success with over the past 3.5 years. We're going to talk about increasing your positive review exposure. Many of you know you need to become aware or become when it comes to these online reviews. But for many of you, you think that this is strictly a defensive. Okay, that's the feedback at least I've heard from all the dealers is, I've got to pay attention to Google. I got to make sure my Google star rating is up. Agreed, you need to make sure that you look positive on the search engines. Okay, Google, Bing, Yahoo, you need to make sure you have a positive reputation. But I think one thing that some dealers use as a strategy, but many dealers don't, is that you can use these reviews to your advantage. Okay, once you start to build up your reputation on the search engines or on sites like DealerRater, these reviews can be a very, very powerful tool for you and your salespeople to use in front of unsold prospects. Okay, that's really the meat of the program that we promote with dealers. Is that absolutely you need to pay attention to your reputation, so when a consumer does a search for you, you look positive, but you take it to the next level and take your reputation and push it in front of prospects. Incredibly powerful closing tool to use third-party content in front of prospects. Okay? And if you take it back a step, think about the mindset of a prospect. Okay? That's the hat you need to wear. Is you need to think about what my consumers think about. Okay? What are consumers thinking about before they walk in the door to either buy or service a car? The mindset of that consumer is they're defensive, right? They are defensive. For the most part, consumers are not especially looking forward to the experience of buying or servicing a car. Why? Because they leave the stereotype out there. They believe they're going to get a negative experience. They believe the dealer's going to try to pull the wool over their eyes. Okay? They're very defensive before walking in your door. You know that. Okay? Now also keep in mind, those consumers that are walking in your door, they're walking into other dealers' stores as well. They're just shopping you. They're shopping the competition. Now here's where the power of third-party content lies for a dealer. Your consumers, the same consumers that walk in the door to buy or service a car, will spend 45 minutes on a site like TripAdvisor to book a $150 hotel room. They'll spend, 30 minutes on a site like Amazon to buy a $50 blender. Your prospects love third-party content. Use it for all types of other purchases in their life. If you drive a prospect like that to your third-party reviews, whether it's on Google, whether it's on DealerRater, you are going to break down the defenses that consumer has before doing business for you or with you. And number two, going to gain a competitive advantage because when you turn a prospect onto third party, you're also exposing the weaknesses of some of the dealers around you that aren't paying attention to their online reputation. And there are a lot of dealers out there not paying attention to online reputation management, okay? If you are, that's a competitive edge that you need to use to your advantage, okay? So step 4, I'm going to talk about how to use it to your advantage, how to get the most out of what you're doing, the effort that you're putting into these online reviews. Let's make some sales out of it. That's what our dealers have a lot of success doing over the past 3 years, our certified dealers. Okay, why pay attention? And again, many of you on this call, you're on this call because you know you need to pay attention. 84% of Americans say online evaluations have an influence on their decision to purchase a product or service. That's an enormous number. That's a number that has increased dramatically over the past 3 years. That means consumers now go to search engines, Google, Yahoo, Bing, and they look for third-party content before making type of purchase. 84% of Americans. That's an enormous number. That means the consumers are influenced by what other consumers have to say. Okay, that's the leading influence for them to make a purchase. And again, many of you on this call, you are 80%, right? You go to TripAdvisor, like I said, before booking a vacation. You might go to Yelp before making a reservation at a new restaurant. Very influenced by what other consumers are having to say. Now, the second bullet, 73% of car shoppers now consult online reviews before or a service visit. Okay? It's an enormous number. That's a number that has dramatically changed. Okay? I started here about 3.5 years ago. On reviews for dealers, they were in their infancy. And the dealers back then really had to push aside the DealerRater in for a prospect for the prospect to see those reviews. Nowadays, consumers easily find third-party content about your dealership or competitors' dealerships. You need to know what those consumers are seeing. Okay, third-party online reviews, they build credibility for dealership, and they build transparency. Transparency is what is all out nowadays for consumers, right? Especially with automotive. They're anticipating a negative experience. Don't show them information that's going to reinforce stereotype, okay? You want to show that you are very transparent in the way that you do business, and that's where online reviews come in. Statistics. You might already be familiar with this, but 4% of the searches, okay, Google, searches on Bing, searches on Yahoo, involve a dealership name. I am amazed at how many times I speak with dealers and they never Google search their dealer name. This has been something that has been talked about for the better part of 2-3 years. Super important to always be Googling your name. Google your dealership name at least once a week. You need to do this because this is what your consumers are doing. Consumers are using the search engines, particularly Google, that they used to use the yellow pages. Right? Just an easy way for them to get information about your dealership. So number one type of search for your dealership is always going to be your dealership name. What comes up on page 1 when you type in your dealership name on Google? Yeah. Okay? 1 in 5 consumers change their original dealership choice based on reviews that they read. Well, think about this. A consumer going to Google and they're taking in the name of a dealership. They get mindset, typically defensive. When they stumble upon third-party reviews, and I'm going to be showing you some good examples, finding reviews about a dealer, okay? If they're finding negative reviews about dealership, whether they're old reviews, new reviews, if your reputation is dominated by a handful of your unhappy folks, okay, that's oftentimes all it takes for that consumer who's already defensive to put in a search for your competitor. Okay, the mindset of a prospect, like they want to avoid kind of experience. If they're viewing customers just like themselves online, sharing new experiences about your dealership, 1 out of 5 of those consumers, and I would absolutely guarantee that that number is going to significantly grow. They're going to change direction and search for your competitor. Okay? Use both dealer location and past dealer loyalty. I think this has been a big shock for dealers. Okay? Many of you have always counted on that dealer loyalty, okay, that consumer loyalty, the consumers that come back generation after generation. I'm sure some of you still have those consumers, but the problem is nowadays is that the consumer is likely to go to a dealer that has a more positive reputation. Okay, so online reviews are what's driving that choice. Okay, and I, again, work with many dealers. Many of the dealers that we have in our program are in remote areas. Okay, sign up with us because they're in remote areas. Okay, and compete with a lot of dealers, say, in larger metro areas. And their goal is to pull some of those prospects out of the larger metros to get them to drive to do business with a more remote dealer. The way that you do that is through reputation. And many consumers, if they stumble upon negative reviews about a particular dealer and then stumble upon positive reviews about your dealer, they're willing to drive a little bit further and sometimes spend a little bit more money to avoid the aggravation that they think they're going to get from that dealer who has a negative reputation. So absolutely, online reviews, both dealer location and past dealer loyalty, and I would expect that trend to increase. And also, customers are one click away from your reviews. And this is a big change in the industry. Over the past few years, you'll notice that particularly sites like Google have put a ton of influence on their content. And the reason they do that, folks, is they know that's what customers want. Over a few years, online review sites of all sorts have just gained momentum. So a site like Google is going to make that information much more accessible to a consumer doing a Google search about your business or any business. So places, and this whole industry has grown as well over the past few years. And this is one constant conversation I have with dealers is dealers are very overwhelmed by third-party content. Okay, there's a lot of people talking to you about third-party content now. Okay, there's different vendors that are representing a product maybe that promotes third-party content or online reputation management. Lots of different people are talking to you about reputation management, lots of different vendors. And there are a lot of review sites out there. Now, okay, and here's what we've always educated dealers on. You need to pay attention to what's being seen. Okay? I've known a lot of dealers that think that they need to pay attention to 15 different review sites. Here are all the review sites. I need to be on every single one of them. Okay? We've always disagreed. Okay? You need to pay attention to multiple review sites. Absolutely, yes. But in our opinion, you pay attention to being seen. When a consumer makes a decision to do a Google search, let's use Google, for dealership, coming up on page 1, because you know what? That is going to concern the consumer. If you have review sites popping up on page 3, 4, 5, you really don't need to be paying attention to those reviews, okay? This is something that you want to be very focused on when it comes to reputation management. If you spit out too thin, okay, you focus on too many review sites, you're not going to have the impact that you'd have if you focus on a key 2 or 3. Because the thing with review sites, and think about how you use them, their quality is king, but quantity is king too, right? You want to see content. Okay? Go to a review site like TripAdvisor, and you're looking for a new hotel to stay at in, making a trip to New York, or you're making a trip to Boston. You're going to be more influenced by hotel than a larger number of reviews. That's just human nature. You want to see content. That's going to give you a better sampling. You want to hone in on review sites that are showing up on page 1 when a consumer does a search. You don't need to put effort in review sites that are putting up 5 pages deep. Now, there's a lot of people that tell you that you do, And I would assume those would be most likely companies that are getting paid have you focus on multiple review sites. You need to be smart and sensical when it comes to online reputation management. Google your dealership, what's showing up on page one, that's where you need to place focus. So the cross-industry reviews are going to be Yelp, City Search, and Google Places. Cross-industry meaning you can write a review about any type of business or product on Yelp, City Search, and Google Places. Then there's auto-related sites like Edmunds and Cars. Okay, this has made a somewhat recent push to reputation management or to online reviews. And then the 100% car dealer review site is DealerRater. We're really the only site of its kind that is just 100% dedicated to dealership reviews. That's all we do is used car dealers, new car dealers, and auto body. Okay, so we're finding the reviews. And this is one thing that you'll notice. This is a screenshot of just Google. And obviously, Google is kind of an ever-changing site, right? You know that you could go on to Google one month and the search looks a certain way. You can go on the next month, search can look another way. Google is constantly changing. You got to keep on top of it, folks. Key is you want to make sure that your Google star ratings are up at around a 4 or 5. Okay, Google star ratings absolutely have huge prominence. Okay, it's what a consumer oftentimes, at least for the moment, sees first or sees very prominently. So when you do a Google search for a dealership, just notice how prominent these reviews appear. Okay, for Way Mazda here, we've got the Google star rating and a DealerRater page. Okay, it's one thing that we've always had a nice benefit, a nice partnership with Google, if you will, where DealerRater's been around for the better part of 10 years. We've got over 500,000 reviews on our site, so we have the content. Okay, Dealer has very high SEO value, so we rank really high up on Google. So I would say, for most of you on this call, you do a Google search for your dealership. Two big important sites that are going to be showing up on page one, or the two big important reviews to pay attention to, are going to be Google reviews and most likely DealerRater reviews. Okay, flip to the web for just a second. A couple live examples, and this is usually what I do with dealers. I love a PowerPoint, but oftentimes a live example goes a long way. I'm doing Google search here for Thousand Oaks Toyota, and just bear with me. We've got a ton of people on today's call, so the online connection here, me going to the web, might be a bit delayed. So hopefully I will, you guys will be able to follow along here. So just to do an example, okay, and again, using the mindset of a consumer, and that's really the key here, is you've got to think about how your consumer thinks. Your consumer, say they're in market, they live in Southern California in this case, they're in market for a new Toyota. They're going to go to Google, right, most likely. Maybe Yahoo, maybe Bing, but most of the consumers, about 65%, are going to go to Google, and they're going to do a search. Okay, now, here's one particular dealership here, Thousand Oaks Toyota, Toyota Thousand Oaks. This is an example, folks, of a dealer, and hopefully they're not on the call, but this is an example of a dealer who's completely not paying attention to their own reputation. Let's just take a look. Okay, Google rating, a 2. Yelp, a 2. Report, probably hammering them on page 1. Their DealerRater page, a 2 score. They're absolutely getting hammered. Negative reviews. Is this representative of their business? I actually have no idea. Okay. All I know is they don't have a proactive strategy in place to get their happy customers to post. So the only people taking the time or that are motivated to post are unhappy folks like this. Okay. And look at how easy it is. The DealerRater links. Click, run to DealerRater. Very easy to get in and read further reviews about this dealership. And how am I going to feel as a consumer? You know, I might think I've got a $1,000 better offer from these guys. How am I going to feel when I'm seeing but negative reviews? This is going to highlight the typical negative experience that I think I'm going to avoid. And it's like that 1 out of 5 person who's going to make the decision to look elsewhere. And I look elsewhere, right? Say I want to go to Toyota Simi Valley, which is a direct competitor of Thousand Oaks. Look at the difference. Okay, again, thinking of the mindset of a consumer. Also, look at the way Google populates the reviews. This is a new trend. Google is populating here, reviews. Why? Because they know consumers like reviews. So when you do a Google search for the name of a dealership now, oftentimes it finishes with reviews. If you're doing this type of Google search for your dealership, you need to start. Okay. Reviews in the name, because it auto-populates and consumers click on that all the time. Okay. This is an example of a dealer paying attention to their reputation. But look at how transparent and positive they look in comparison to their largest competition. Right? If I click on these reviews, I'm brought to a third-party review site, called DealerRater.com in this case, and the mindset of a consumer, if they're in market to buy or service a vehicle, they're probably going to be inclined to click on a site called DealerRater because it's going to give them the opportunity to read reviews, not just about this dealership, but about the other dealerships that they might be considering. And again, when you go to a site like DealerRater, what happens? Just pull a page here. Okay. And Simi Valley is an example of a dealer who's absolutely taking advantage of the fact that the direct competitor, Thousand Oaks Toyota, which is way down on the list here, okay, 14 views and a 1.9. Do you think Thousand Oaks Toyota or Toyota Simi Valley, rather, wants to get prospects to this page or wants to get prospects to Google? It's powerful. If they know a prospect is in market to buy a Toyota, they're probably shopping Thousand Oaks too. How powerful is it for Simi Valley to do a prospect here or prospect to Google and compare and contrast? Okay, so I liken, page one of Google to dealers that aren't paying attention. I almost use an example of if a dump truck drove by your dealership and a big load of garbage fell off the back of a dump truck. It was all over the entrance of your dealership. Would you clean that up? Would you help and clean that up for you? Would you go out personally and go pick up that garbage and clean up the entrance of your dealership? Google, page one, is the entrance of your dealership. If you're cleaning it up, if you're not monitoring how it is and making sure that it's clean and with mostly positive reviews, they're going to drive on by. And this has been a big kind of topic in the industry, especially over the past few months. Where to build reviews. Okay, you've obviously got multiple choices. I mentioned, and DealerRater has always been of the belief that you pay attention to what's on page one. Okay, you pay attention to Google, and you pay attention to what's on page one. Okay, because that's what your consumers are going to be seeing. What you don't want to do is you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket when it comes to reviews. Meaning, and I'll throw our own site here in front of you. You don't want to just focus on DealerRater, folks, okay? You also don't want to just focus on Google because remember, that's not all that's being seen out there, okay? You want to diversify your counts across the web. You don't want to spread yourself too thin and focus on sites that have no views. You want to focus on the sites that are influencing your page one search. Talk about why not Google Places alone. Because again, I think there was a change in the industry 3 months ago. It was fairly significant, and I won't get into too much detail, but basically what Google did is they changed the way they integrated party reviews into star rating. That was the major change, is that up until about 3 months ago, if you were a site like TripAdvisor or a site like Edmunds or a site, multiple review sites all fed into the Google star rating, which was fantastic. If it was paying attention to DealerRater and they had a ton of positive DealerRater reviews, it influenced their Google score, which was great. Okay, about 3 months ago, Google put a stop to any third-party review site integrating into that star rating, which means your Google star rating now is a pure Google rating. Okay. Now, here's an interesting comment that was made by the CEO on Google, which really kind of reinforces my point. You need to not just pay attention to Google. Compare Google results click traffic. 25% of customer clicks go to dedicated review sites versus 10% the Google Place page. This is the Google CEO himself about the search trends. 25% of consumer clicks go to dedicated review sites like Yelp, like DealerRater, like TripAdvisor, versus 10% the Google Place page. If you're putting 100% of your efforts right now into Google Places, you're leaving yourself vulnerable on the other review sites. Okay? Period. Google owns 65% of the search. Okay? Google's the big monster out there, absolutely no doubt. But you don't want to ignore the other 35%. Okay? Again, you got to think about the mindset of a consumer. Okay, you might use Google constantly. That might be all you use. There's 35% of people out there that are using Yahoo and sites like Bing. You can't forget about them. Okay? So you want to make sure, and again, if you're focused on a handful, say, the DealerRaters, the Yelps, if you're focused on these sites, you're most likely going to cover yourself on sites like Yahoo and Bing as well as Google. You just don't want to forget about those sites. Okay? You don't want to put all your eggs in the Google basket because it's not the only game in town. There is the 35% of people that do search elsewhere. And I think a big reason to not put our effort into Google is it's a very volatile site for any business owner. Okay? As I mentioned, Google changes up the search and their algorithms, I think, every 5 minutes. Okay, so you need to focus on it, absolutely. You want to have your Google starting up around 4 or 5, hands down, absolutely. But you want to be sure that you don't put all your eggs in that basket. That basket is subject to change. And you don't want to be left in a spot when it comes to reputation management. If you spread yourself out on a few of the key sites as well as Google, you're going to put yourself in a very, very good spot. Also, review sites are a lot more consistent than Google. Okay. Let's talk about credible reviews. This is this is also a huge change I've seen in the industry over the past few years, and it drives me crazy, to be perfectly honest. I guess dealers have realized that their business relies on their reputation, okay? And I think as dealers have realized over the past few years, I'm not paying attention to these online reviews, I'm looking horrible online, they've panicked. Many of you have panicked. Many of you maybe have thought, this is a much bigger project than I can handle, or I'm never going to get my salespeople to get reviews up here. It's just, I want them selling cars. I don't want them focused on reviews. So many dealers have thought it's going to be an idea to try to game the system. Maybe I'll try to hire a third-party company to build reviews on my behalf. Maybe I'll try to get my employees to go home and post reviews about about my dealership and my competition. Folks, when it comes to third-party content, consumers are smarter than you think. When consumers go to third-party review sites, and I'm sure you've all seen it, you know when something's being gamed and you know when something's being credible. Okay? And if you suspect they game the system when it comes to third-party content, it's a big turnoff. Okay? It sometimes highlights this typical image that the consumer thinks they're going to have a negative experience. So you've got to build your positive online reputation organically over time. All right? I've seen dealers take the tactic of, well, I've got to focus on Google, which means I need reviews written every hour on Google. Folks, people know that's fake. Okay? Third-party review sites should be boom, 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 one after the other. Okay, they need to be built organically. Remember, third-party review sites have to be credible. People are not going to believe that it's 100% bulletproof or 100% credible. Nobody believes that when it comes to third-party. I think everybody goes into it knowing that there might be a handful of fraudulent reviews here and there. But if you're a dealership and you're really kind of trying to game the system and you're on reviews one after the other on sites like Google, a consumer is going to know that it doesn't smell right. Okay? Don't be tempted to game the system. Okay? I'm going to talk about the process of how to build reviews organically that are credible and they're going to make your consumers and your prospects feel comfortable doing business with you. You don't want to turn a consumer off because they're stuff out when it comes to these reviews. That's a huge no-no, okay? And also keep in mind, is anticipating a negative experience from you, the dealer, right? They're expecting you deceitful, okay? It's not telling anyone anything new. They're expecting that. If they suspect that gaming the system when it comes to third-party content, big enough, okay? They're going to go to look at the next dealer. Those are going to seem very non-credible. Most fraud sites, okay, take fraud seriously. Here is the most other review sites out there. We actually sink a ton of resources into fraud detection. We've got automatic filters on the site that can check the IP addresses, and we've got an actual fraud team that reads and approves or rejects every review that comes in. So DealerRater is one of those sites I'd say that's the strictest of the reviews out there. But there are review sites too. I mean, I know Google doesn't do a great job at it, but they do have some level of fraud detection, as does Yelp, as does some of the other sites. So just make sure you're going about this sort of taking the road, going about this in a credible, organic way. And there is potential blacklisting. At least I know there is on DealerRater. Dealers from time to time do get blacklisted on our site for posting fraudulent reviews, either about themselves or about the competition, or they hire those third-party companies, and those third-party companies are posting reviews on their behalf. We have seen dealers get blacklisted for that type of business as well. Be aware. Talk about where reviews should be written. And I want to bring this up because this has been something that has been sort of a hot topic as well. Now, with the end of online reviews for automotive increasing, I mentioned the number of businesses out there that pitch or that promote online reputation management have increased. Okay, that's what it is. That's how the world works. When there's a trend, when there's something hot, a lot of different businesses promote that trend and offer their services. Now, the way at DealerRater, we've been around for 10 years, like I said. We've been doing it the longest. We've never allowed reviews to be written in the showroom. Okay? Could we have? Absolutely. Anytime we could have. We've had multiple request dealers that say, oh, it'd be so much easier if I could just pull this customer over to a showroom computer and get them to write a review. I couldn't agree with you more. It would be absolutely easier for you to do that. Would it be better? No. Here's our take, and here's always been our take on building real credible reviews. Okay? That consumer at the end of delivery or end of their service visit, they have not left your dealership yet. They have not left your place of business. Okay? They've got to get in their car. They've got to drive home, either from that car that they've serviced or that car that they just purchased. So their experience at dealership has not completed until they leave your dealership. Okay? So this notion, you set up an iPad or set a showroom computer, promote that the customer write the review in the showroom, in our opinion, is go your business and it's going to hurt your credibility. And here's why. When it comes to third-party content, I just think of industry that promotes in-house review writing. Okay? And think about your day-to-day lives and reviews that are out there. If you ate at a restaurant tonight and you were at your meal and you brought over a check, will you ever drop a laptop off at the table and ask you to write a review about the meal that you just had at that restaurant? Absolutely. When on your way out, they say, hey, great to see you. If you wouldn't mind going onto Facebook and liking us on Facebook, or would really appreciate it if you could write a review about our experience, on Google. They might say that to you. The host might say that when you're on your way out. They're going to drop a laptop off your table and ask you to write a review while you're finishing your glass of wine, right? Or when you're at a hotel, if you're out, is a concierge going to take you behind the desk and ask you to write a review about that room that you just had, or are they going to encourage you when you leave to go on a site like TripAdvisor, maybe even give you a little piece of paper that says, say, could you please take a moment and write a review about us on TripAdvisor? I've received those types of little notes from hotels multiple times. Like this. If you want a consumer to write a review while they're in the showroom, they're going to question the credibility of the reviews that they read before entering your showroom. Because the mindset of a consumer is going to be, well, who the heck is going to write a negative review if they're asking us to write it in the showroom? And then they're going to think about the Google search that they did before entering the dealership. And they're going to wonder, were those reviews credible, or were they reviews that were written in the showroom? Okay. Is it harder to obtain a review outside of the showroom? Absolutely. Is it better? Yes. In this case, quality is much better than quantity. Okay? It results in a negative consumer perception. Even if you don't think so, if the consumer isn't complaining about it, if they do it, I guarantee they don't like it. Question the credibility of it. No other industry promotes that type of practice. Don't give them a reason to think they're gaming the system, right? They're already expecting that from you. If you have them doing a showroom, you're going to confirm that suspicion. Let's talk about the 4 key steps for successful online reputation management. And again, we've always of the belief here at DealerRater is it should be a very straightforward program, number 1. There should be a low-cost program, number 2. Monitoring your reputation should be low cost. You shouldn't have to throw a ton of money at this. And number 3, this should benefit your staff, okay? And if your staff is not aware of dealers' online reputation and their own personal online reputation, you need to make them aware, okay? So let's start first for the 4 key steps. You want to monitor what customers are saying about you online. Number 2, you want to build positive reviews, right? That's step 1 for many of you. You've got to put a process in place to build positive reviews. You need to manage your reviews, okay? Half the battle with this stuff, folks, is just paying attention. Most of the dealers out there that have negative reviews written about them, those customers that wrote the negatives, they never dealt with the upper management. Dealt with the GM or the dealer principal. They drove home, kicked off after an experience with, say, a salesperson or a service writer, and they shared that experience online, and now it's out there. Okay, and if you ignore it, that's what's going to be out there. You've got to manage those negatives. You need to have responses on sites like Google, on DealerRater, wherever you have negative content showing up. You need to insulate yourself with positive, but you also need to respond to the negative. And you want to leverage these reviews for a competitive advantage. Okay, and this is talking about that, really exposing your reputation as a positive, as a closing tool. Foremost, Google your dealership, monitor your reputation, find out what's being said about your dealership, both positive or negative. What you also want to do is you want to Google your competitor dealerships. Okay, if you're doing that, you got to do that. You want to know where you stand and where your competition stands, because that's what your prospects are going to be seeing. You want to know what your prospects are seeing. A, they Google you. B, Google the competition, because if your competition's not paying attention, that's a competitive advantage that you can use in front of that prospect. Well, I mentioned this before. You want to Google your dealership reviews. This has been a change in the industry I've seen over the past few years, is now when you do a Google search for almost anything, whether a restaurant or a hotel or in this case a dealership, Google is auto-populating the word reviews. You can try it on your own computers. They're populating the word reviews, and they're doing that because they know a consumer will want to read third-party content about all types of different purchases, so they're putting that content in of them. Okay, make sure you're Googling not just your dealership, but you're Googling your dealership name plus the word reviews. Okay, you know what's being said on both those types of searches. You've not read this. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Any business. I've been pushing this to friends that I have that own restaurants. I've been pushing this to friends that I own that have a dog pet store. Anybody who in business of selling something should this book. This is free download. It's called it's a Win the Zero Moment of Truth. It's put out by Google, actually. Jim Lazinski, which is Google's managing director of U.S. sales, actually put this. It's an ebook, so it's a free download. After you get off this call, I recommend you go to Google. You just Google ZMOT. It'll take you to a link where you can download this book, free book. Tremendous information here, folks. Talks all about the culture of search, the change of search, talks about the need, like I said, to add the word reviews when you're doing a search, talks all about this. Talks about page one, talks about third-party review sites and what you need to pay attention to when it comes to Google and the review sites that are basically on your page one search. Okay, so highly, highly recommend that read. And if your general manager is not on this call, I recommend you read it and give it to him. Okay, every dealership should read this book. Tremendous information in here. Considering your reputation, make sure that you're alerted to these reviews. Now, there's many free alerts you can set, so take advantage of this technology. What you're looking at here is a DealerRater alert. This is available for certified dealers. Any certified dealer can be put on an email alert, and that email alert is going to go out to really anyone that you'd like at the dealership. We always recommend you want to build buy-in. You want to get everybody in the dealership on email alert because you want the salespeople to be aware of the reviews coming in. You want the service writers to be aware of what's coming in. When you key in everybody reviews, whether it's on DealerRater or any other review site, it's going to build a competitive culture in the dealership, especially with salespeople. Think about the mindset. Salespeople love to be number one. They're competitive. They like attaboys, right? They like the slap on the back and, good job with that latest review. When you get people CC'd on alerts, in third-party content, whether it's the DealerRater reviews or any other review site, it will build momentum in the dealership. I promise your reviews will snowball if you alert your staff to these reviews. If you don't have email addresses for your staff, if they don't have, dealership email addresses, these reviews off and present them in the Saturday managers meeting. Okay, type of weekly meeting that you have with your folks, bring up these reviews. If you don't have the technology to kind of handle the email alerts, be printing these reviews out and bring it to the attention and congratulate people on Saturday meetings. Google, most of you on this call, I'm sure, have set your dealership up with Google alerts. If you haven't, you got to do it. Okay, go to Google, type in Google Alert. That's going to basically set up a similar alert to the DealerRater review. It's just going to alert you anytime there's information being said about your dealership on Google. Very important. Obviously, you got to start with a positive experience, right? You can't create a lot of smoke and mirrors. I think there's dealers that attempt to, but in the end, you've got to have a positive experience to begin with, right? You're not going to be able to please everybody, of course, but your goal really is to make sure that you're obtaining verbal commitments from your customers while they're in the showroom. So you need to utilize both your sales staff and your service staff when it comes to reviews. Okay? You want to make sure you're getting reviews from both departments. Service is equally as important as sales. In fact, you can build up your number of reviews quicker if you're utilizing your sales department. So my recommendation, instead of having them post in the dealership, which you can't do on DealerRater, but I don't recommend it on any other review site as well, is you got to gain a verbal commitment, okay? And if the dealers are certified, they get a rating reminder card, which is a simple glossy postcard that we give the consumer, that we give the dealers with the certification program. We give them 10,000 of those cards per year. I've seen other dealers make up their own custom kind of rating reminder cards, hand something out in the showroom. Thank the customer for the business. Hand them these rating reminder cards while they're in the showroom. You've got to have the personal connection of your employees, thanking customers, and handing them per request to rate them on DealerRater or Google or any other review site. Incorporate, I said, in both the sales and service department, remind customers that you're following up with an email. What I mean by that is if I'm at delivery and I'm a salesperson, if I have one of these rating cards, if it's a custom card, great. If it's a DealerRater card, fantastic. If I have a business card as a salesperson, this is my business. This is my personal reputation as a salesperson. So I want these reviews. These reviews of me, the salesperson, are going to be pumped all over the web, right? Because that's where reviews go now. So it's in it for me. It doesn't build my personal reputation online as a salesperson. So if you have a business card, staple it to your rating reminder card. If you don't, maybe jot your name on the rating card, hand the card to the customer at delivery, thank them for the business, remind them, hey, we're going to follow up in a couple days with an email request just reminding you to post that review on DealerRater. Takes about 60 seconds. I really appreciate it. Okay? You got to use the combination of a verbal commitment and a follow-up email because that's what's going to get the consumer to do it at home or at work. If you just rely on a verbal commitment, they're going to forget. Okay? People totally forget. They drive off the lot excited about their new 4Runner and they totally forget about the request that you made. If they're at home or they're at work and it's day 1, day 2 after they bought that 4Runner and they get an email from you, say the salesperson or the finance manager that facilitated the sale that, sold them the car, much more likely then it's going to remind them, oh, yeah, that's right, I told Bob I would write a review about him on DealerRater. And they're much more likely to do it. Okay, got to have that combination of the verbal request and the email. Building reviews, it's going to build a reputation for the dealership, but it's also going to help build your employees' reputation. Like I said, that's why you need to make sure that your employees are really paying attention to these sites as well. This is not only a building reputation for dealership, it's building a personal referral tool for salespeople. Okay, so when managing negative reviews, it's okay to have negative reviews. Right? This is the key: is you're isolating yourself. Now that you're paying attention, you want to make sure that for every one negative review, you have 9 surrounding it. That's really going to diffuse the power of the negative reviews you have. When it comes to these negatives, and again, this is not rocket science, folks, okay? You've always been in the business, most of you anyway. If you have an unhappy customer and say they called the dealership or they wrote a letter, most of the general managers or dealer principals will do what they can to call that consumer and try to make that situation right, try to rectify. Same thing with reviews. You don't want to let these reviews sit out there unanswered. That looks terrible. Okay, saw that search I did about Thousand Oaks Toyota. They look horrific. Why do you do business there, right? Because based on what you're reading, why would you do there as a consumer if you're reading those reviews? Now, when it comes to managing your negative reviews, you got to have upper management doing the responding. Okay, keeping the consumer that wrote the negative probably never dealt with the dealer principal or the general manager. Got to have upper management doing these responses. Even if it's upper management, someone on behalf of upper management needs to be doing the public responses. And to make sure, and this is a big kind of make I see from time to time, is that you don't want to be defensive. Okay, the last thing you want to do is throw gasoline on a fire when it comes to reviews. If you have a negative review that went live, it's going to stay live. Your objective is to diffuse that negative, and really your goal is for the next prospect that see that negative, you want them to know mad about the dealership, meaning you're going to have all sorts of positive reviews indicating that one negative, but you want to write a nice high road, empathetic response to the negative review, regardless of the situation. You've got to be high road and empathetic. That's what it's going to take to diffuse the defenses of that next prospect that's reading it. Okay? And obviously, with our certification program, a big piece to the program is when dealers get negative reviews on DealerRater, it goes into a private 2-week reconciliation period. It actually gives them 4 days to hopefully improve that relationship. That's the goal, is to fix the relationship, to win the business, win back the customer. A lot of our dealers are very successful in doing that, and in turn the consumer will either rewrite the review or they'll remove the review or ask DealerRater to remove the review because they feel like you jumped through hoops to fix their experience. So the final piece we're going to talk about, we've talked about monitoring, we've talked about building, managing. Spending all this time, you got your salespeople building reviews, your service writers. Now what do you do with them? You want to use them to your advantage. Okay, this is the meat of the program. Okay, this is really what we promote, is you want to incorporate reviews into your sales process. Why? Because consumers hate hearing from you how great you are, right? They're totally numb to listening to dealers. Okay, they see your commercials, they hear your radio ads, they hear constantly dealers talking about how great they are. Right? There's many dealers that also not only talk about how great they are, but they'll slam the competition, which is never a good business practice, right? If you point a prospect to a third-party review site, what does it do? It defenses about your dealership because it's third-party content, and also big time exposes the weaknesses of the dealers that aren't paying attention. Okay, so use these reviews as a closing tool. Leverage your reviews online. If you're not integrating third-party review sites into your website, you need to start. Okay, what you're looking at here, this is a certified dealer. This is the Toyota dealer that I Googled online. They integrate DealerRater as often as they can. All over their website. This is a live testimonial feed that simply is powered by DealerRater, and it pumps in the latest 10 only positive reviews. What that does, it's a great referral tool for salespeople, number 1. Number 2, it's a very credible third-party testimonial page. Okay? And number 3, if I'm shopping Simi Valley, this is going to turn me on to DealerRater, right? What am I going to think when I see this? I'm going to think, oh, you know what Thousand Oaks Toyota looks like on DealerRater. I've got a $1,000 better offer from those guys. You're going to go DealerRater oftentimes, and you're going to expose the weaknesses of a store like Thousand Oaks. And at the end of the day, when I'm going to buy my Camry, I probably feel more comfortable buying from these guys, right? Very little third-party content on your website. Leverage your reviews in your outgoing emails. You know that your competition is not paying attention, or many of your dealers aren't paying attention. And many of the dealers around you stopped focusing on certain review sites. Maybe they're only paying attention to Google, let's say. Link those customers to DealerRater. This is something that a very successful Toyota dealer in Georgia does. Click here to compare third-party reviews about Atlanta Toyota dealers. They drive every single unsold prospect to the state page on DealerRater that lists all the Toyota dealers in Georgia. Why? Because they want the prospect to compare and contrast this dealership, World Toyota, to the other dealers. And the reason I want them to compare and contrast is because they blow away the competition when it comes to reputation. And again, the consumer, at the end of the day, is going to feel more comfortable buying from a store like World based upon what they're reading. So leverage it through your outgoing emails. This is huge. Salespeople love this type of link. Of, if you're in a market, whether it's, you're using Google or whether you're using DealerRater or any other review site, know your competition. That's a big part of leveraging your reputation, is not only knowing where you stand, but know where your competition stands. Okay, a store like BMW Concord, right? There are 4 dealers that compete with that dealer. Okay, these 4 dealers in their market. Okay, we did like a 50-mile radius search on DealerRater. Stevens Creek, Weatherford, Peter Pan, San Francisco. Okay, in BMW Concord, do you think I want to get this type of link in front of an unsold prospect? Most prospect is what? They're going to be shopping Concord, but probably one of these 4 dealers, right? And the prospect, if they're in market to buy 3 Series, they're going to buy that 3 Series. They're just deciding on where to buy the 3 Series. And they're going to oftentimes want to buy the 3 Series from the dealer who they think they're going to get this experience from. Okay? Human nature. They're going to want to buy from the dealer that has recent positive reviews from other customers just like them. So when you have a dominance like Concord does on this page on DealerRater, you push that into prospects because it's going to be very influential. It's third-party content, remember. Okay? Consumers are going to want to go here, and they're going to want to research third-party content, whether it's on Google or DealerRater, like a research tool. You employees, again, I've been getting your employees involved in email alerts after the reviews. It's been an incredible trend that has increased over the past 3+ years, at least that I've seen here at DealerRater. Salespeople love DealerRater. In so many cases, we have salespeople that leave a dealership, go to another dealership, call DealerRater and say, "Hey, I want to get certified. I want to get going. I want to, start building my reviews." They do that because there's something in it for them. Okay, online reviews are referral tools for salespeople, and we talked about how they get everywhere. They get on Google, they get on Facebook, they get on your website, they get all over the web, right? So if you're a salesperson like this guy, Dave Morris, the more positive reviews you have, the more you're going to get a consumer to feel comfortable buying business from you or doing business with you. So we've seen a lot of dealers now integrating right into their staff pages on their dealership websites links, third-party reviews about particular salespeople. It's awesome. It's a great way to really build buy-in with your employees, but it's also a great way to get your reviews to skyrocket because the salespeople are going to want to have positive reviews about them. Facebook, many of you have business pages. Probably all of you on this call, I would suspect. Facebook audience is an awesome audience to promote third-party content. If you're not doing any type of third-party reviews integrating into your Facebook, you really should take advantage of that. Okay? That is the type of audience that is a review reader audience. Okay, so this is just an example of a dealer who's integrating their DealerRater reviews into their business page. Okay, this is an automatic feed for them, so it's zero maintenance once it's set up. Quickly, and then I'll let this kind of wrap up. And many of you do advertising on AutoTrader and Cars.com. I used to work for AutoTrader back in 2003, and at the time, just to be on AutoTrader was a competitive advantage. Meaning, not a dealer was on it. So when you were on a site like AutoTrader, you have a lot of action because the eyeballs went to your cars, right? Now everybody's on AutoTrader. Everybody's on Cars.com. It's like the paper now. It's like print. It's like you have to be there. Because of that, it's hard to get the eyeballs to your cars, right? It's harder to get the ups, the walk-ins, the calls, because there's so much saturation on both Cars and AutoTrader. Now, this is, in my opinion, a huge way to leverage your reputation. Think about the mindset of a consumer shopping AutoTrader or Cars.com. They're buying a pre-owned vehicle for the most part, right? They're going to get into the new car field. They're not doing much with it. They're predominantly used car classified sites. So the mindset of that prospect is completely defensive, right? They're buying used car, right? They're expecting a horrible experience or expecting something negative, most likely. They're also shopping multiple dealers. If they're using AutoTrader and Cars.com, they're looking at new cars, independent dealers, right? Independents, used car stores advertise like crazy on Cars and AutoTrader. A lot of independent and used car stores are completely ignoring their reputation online. Not there yet. They're not where the new car stores are yet when it comes to reputation management. Take advantage of that. Promote the fact that you have an online reputation. This is a store out of Massachusetts, promoting the fact, Dealer of the Year 3 years in a row. They're linking to their reviews on AutoTrader, which is something you can do now. It's a special package you can use with AutoTrader to link in your third-party content. It's all about getting an edge, okay? When the consumer sees third-party content on a site like AutoTrader or Cars.com, they're going to feel more comfortable about your dealership. They might even go to a site like DealerRater. And this store here, Hyundai of St. Augustine, they build in the DealerRater message all over their custom comments, all over their photo branding. Reason why? They want a consumer to go reviews about Hyundai of St. Augustine, but then also read reviews about the other dealers that they might be considering buying from on Cars.com. And why does Hyundai of St. Augustine do that? Because they win. Every time a consumer goes to AutoTrader, they're going to feel more comfortable buying from Hyundai of St. Augustine based upon what they're reading. And the feedback we get is that a consumer will drive past 5 other stores to come buy that used Sonata from St. Augustine because they believe they're going to get a better experience based upon what they're reading. Right? They're going to want to avoid the independent dealer down the road with 5 reviews and a 1.2. So, again, use it to your advantage. You're spending all this time and effort building your reviews. Don't just have a defensive strategy without having an offensive strategy. Okay? You want to make sure you're using these reviews to your advantage. And once your salespeople know that this is a closing tool that they can use to earn their business, they will continue to build reviews and they will continue to use this to your advantage. Taking it to the end, that concludes at least my part of the training here, the call. I know we're going to have some Q&A, and up now is just my contact info. I'd mentioned that absolutely feel free to call me or email me at any time. I know, as I said, we've got a bunch of certified dealers on the call, as well as some vendors and non-certified dealers, so absolutely reach out to me whenever you'd like, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you folks.
That was a great presentation. We have a lot of questions here, so I'll go to the first one. It's from Amanda Crosdale, and she asks, is DealerRater still pushing to Google? I bet that Google is not going to show DealerRater reviews anymore. Is that true?
I'll need to share my screen. This has been, you can hear, Maureen,
yeah,
can I pop that on? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this has been one of the biggest misconceptions going. Okay. And as I mentioned, about 3 months ago, there was a shift in the way Google displayed content. And the shift was that Google simply, there's a history as to why this is happening, but currently Google is under some investigation for federal trade violations. And it's some review sites out there, some third-party review sites out there that are basically accusing Google of kind of gaming the system, of stacking the cards to their favor, of not showing true organic content on Google. So Google's going through all types of different investigations right now, okay? So they made the change, meaning when Google stopped showing or integrating third-party content or third-party review sites into their star rating, all of this rumor started happening, and dealers were hearing dealer reviews no longer show up on Google. That could not be any further from the, let's just do a couple searches to make my point. DealerRater has always integrated into Google. Always, okay? We've been around for 10 years. The reason why we integrate so high into Google is we have incredible SEO content. Google looks for sites like us that we have a ton of content, and the content that we have is all about car dealers and all about cars. So it ranks really, really high in Google's automotive vertical, right? So if you look at a store like Hyundai of St. Augustine, the DealerRater content is showing up front and center. The DealerRater reviews link right to DealerRater, right? The DealerRater review pages, center, page 1, typically above the fold. Okay? So when you do a Google search for the dealership, and I'll just do a couple others. I mean, there's multiples I could do here, but it's any, and I would just say to you, do a Google search for your own dealership, type in the name of your dealership, okay? And in addition to typing in the name of your dealership, type in the name reviews. Okay, so that's the consumer search. Read that online book, Zmont, and it will talk all about how consumers are typing in the name of your dealership, and they're also auto-populating the word reviews. Okay, front and center. You see it auto-populates. And you do that, you'll see in both types of searches, the DealerRater content ranks front and center. Okay, so that's been a big misconception. I'm glad that question came up because it has been something, it's been almost like a rumor that's been going around that is entirely false. And I'll say it's fueled by, probably some companies out there that are trying to pitch their wares, and they're trying to, make it sound like a DealerRater does not have any more presence. It very much does. You can see yourself by doing a Google search of your dealership.
Okay, we have another question here from Ashley Baswell. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Will social media comments and feedback be addressed on this webinar? Well, yes, you definitely have done that. Let's see what the next question is.
I think the question that Ashley had was, how do you deal with negative posts on Facebook?
On Facebook, well, I think you've got a couple different options there. On Facebook, Facebook has its own kind of review feature where you can go on and you can write reviews directly on Facebook. What many of our customers like to do is they're certified. They can do two things. They can, and I think Facebook is just like Google, just really like any other review site, is that you don't need to have perfection like and so I don't recommend it. When it comes to third-party content, the reason why consumers like third content and find it to be valuable as a research tool is it's the good and the bad. That's what makes the party content credible. The consumer just wants to read more good than that. That's what makes the decision for them. So when it comes to Facebook, I think you've just got to make sure, like any other review site, that you insulate yourself. Okay, so the dealers that, say, work with DealerRater, they have a couple different options. They can send an automatic feed to Facebook, which displays only positive content. It's like a little feed that comes into their Facebook page. It's an automatic feed that populates all the positive DealerRater reviews. And dealers are also able to post on their wall DealerRater reviews. So they can do a couple different things. They can build a review page, and they can also feed the DealerRater reviews onto their wall posts as well. So if you get negatives, if Facebook gives you the opportunity to respond, they do offhand, but if they do, I'd recommend that. But then also what I'd recommend is just insulating yourself with positives like you do on any other site.
So we have a next question from Holly Brown, and she's asking, what about a customer submitting a review from their smartphone while they're at the dealership?
Yeah, that's been a tough one. And he says, at least with us, we've got a pretty sophisticated kind of filter system, and oftentimes with the smartphone, if it's picking up the dealership's IP or Wi-Fi, we're going to block that. Block it because it's showing up under the dealer's IP. If it does pick up the dealer's Wi-Fi, then that review that would probably go through. Again, I really kind of caution you on having the reviews posted or encouraging consumers to post in the showroom. If it's a consumer's decision to post a review on their smartphone, if they're so kicking their heels up about your service and they want to pull their phone out and write a review, absolutely let them. My caution is don't request it in the showroom. If the showroom asking for reviews, again, take a look at any other industry out there. You probably cannot name any other industry that's going to ask you to write a review while you're in the place of business. It's not done, right? We've always said DealerRater reviews are similar to the CSI surveys, right? The OEMs don't allow CSI surveys to be written in the showroom. Why? For perception. They don't want the consumer to feel pressured to write a positive survey because the dealer's looking at them writing the survey. So it's kind of the same mindset. Is you want the consumer, in my opinion, with third-party content, you want to be comfortable to write about your true experience, and most times you're going to be comfortable when you're outside of that business, at home or at work. So if they do it on a smartphone, then so be it. If it's their idea, I just caution against promoting it or requesting it.
Okay. The next question is from Jeff Inskeep, asking, should we ask consumers to review us on Google or DealerRater? How do dealers manage the balance?
I would say, if you've done put any effort into having your consumers post on Google, you probably know that it's not very easy. Okay, it's not the easiest thing in the world to post a Google review. I've done it for different types of restaurants. For some reason, they make you jump through hoops. Maybe that will change, but as of right now, it's kind of difficult to post a Google review. This is what I would say about the balance. Strictly a defensive strategy, in opinion. You want to make sure that you have a 4 to 5 star rating when a consumer Googles you. That said, you don't need a lot of reviews to obtain a 4 or 5 star rating. Okay, you probably need 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay, you don't need a ton because you probably don't have a ton currently. And Google is really a defensive strategy. You want to Google the dealership, see 4 to 5 stars. The reason why we recommend maybe like an 80-20 mix, putting 20% of your effort into Google, 80% into DealerRater, is the big difference with DealerRater is it's a platform that you can leverage. Unlike Google, unlike any of these other review sites, DealerRater almost becomes like a mini marketing machine. So when you start to build up your reviews, you can then really use DealerRater as a tool to get in front of the prospect before they buy. And that's, again, the meat of the program. And the way DealerRater's set up is basically you're a Honda dealer in New Jersey, let's say. You look at, when you look at the New Jersey Honda directory, you see all of the Honda dealers in New Jersey. So it gives you the ability as a consumer to compare and contrast your dealership against the competition. So it's more of a tool you can leverage. Therefore, I recommend put effort into DealerRater only because you're going to be using it as a closing tool. So you want dominance on it. Hope the question.
Thanks. We have another question from Amanda. She says, we have over 100 DealerRater reviews and only about half show up on the right-hand side of the page when you Google us. What am I doing wrong?
I'm doing anything wrong. That's actually a Google bug. Okay, and the good news is you can report it and get it fixed. Bad news is Google doesn't do anything quickly. So if you don't mind, Maureen, do you mind if I just show my screen again because I want to show Amanda where? Okay. So you'll notice that Google, and that's another thing is Google's information oftentimes is very consistent. You want to make sure that your information is correct on Google, okay? Because in many cases, and they have the information wrong, meaning they might have incorrect phone numbers, they might have an incorrect address, so they might have an incorrect link to your website. There's all types of different things that they could have wrong. And you have the ability to really claim your business page, okay? So what I would do, Amanda, you just Google search dealership, find the reviews, right? Find the Google reviews. In this case, let's see, let me get into their Google Maps page here. Okay, where are they here? Within a second. Okay, let's find their place page. You click on the Google reviews. That's going to open up your place page. Okay, and this is where you really want to make sure that you've claimed your place page. There's all sorts of opportunity for you to upload images in here or videos. I recommend upload some third-party content here. Let me just use another quick example of what I mean by that. I could spell. So just so I can give you a kind of a live example. So, St. Augustine, good example of a dealer. And you'll notice, this is going back to that question before Amanda's too, is this is a good example of a dealer who you can see 20 Google reviews. It doesn't take much to get high rating. You don't need to spend a lot of effort in here, okay? It doesn't take a lot to get that 4 or 5 rating. If you get a negative review, then you spend a little bit of focus on Google. You want to make sure you're always up around a 4 or 5, right? But you see the dominance where he's put it in DealerRater. And that's because he's using it as a closing tool. He wants to dominate on DealerRater because he integrates it into his sales process. Okay, so it kind of goes back to that question of that 80-20 rule. Okay, I'd say that's a good example of a dealer using that. And it's working very successfully. He's not ignoring Google, and we don't recommend that he does. He's just putting most of his effort into DealerRater, which is a site that he uses offensively. Now, in this case, I'm going to click on the Google reviews. And notice, Amanda, is you can upload all sorts of images. You can claim this page. I recommend promoting third party on these images. Like, I love how they have their BBB and their DealerRater Dealer of the Year logo. Again, it's about breaking down the barriers, right? And the consumer is going to feel good about seeing this type of, messaging or images on Google Places. But when you scroll down the page, you'll notice that there's a little link in here. And again, it doesn't happen quickly, but you can report a problem. You got to report it in the place page. When you click that, it gives opportunity to say, in this case, I'd probably say some photos, reviews, or details belong to a different place, or you could just put in, anything. The listing contains some information or spam, any of these things, and you want to plug in your comment. And in this case, what you'd see is the DealerRater reviews are not populating accurately. And what they'll do, it's a bug on their end. It's basically just an admitted bug on their end where they'll go ahead and it'll take a little bit of time, but ultimately when you report it, it will fix. They will fix the situation and they'll start populating it correctly. Off though, just so you know, they're always a little bit off. I mean, you'll notice, the dealer is showing, 584 reviews here. If you look at them on DealerRater, their DealerRater reviews, I think they're showing, they're showing 628 reviews here, 584 here. I mean, the numbers are always going to be a little bit off, and that's just Google. Okay, but you certainly report it.
Thank you. We have a question here from Scott Cooley. He says, how do you compete with a dealer that is paying people for 5-star reviews?
You compete with a dealer that's paying people for 5-star reviews?
Right.
If you're a dealer and your dealer in your market is paying for 5-star reviews, well, I think I'd go back to kind of what I was saying before, is that dealers are trying to cut corners. Okay, they're trying to cut corners by either paying a third-party company to post reviews on consumers' behalf, or maybe they're somehow gaming the system, incentivizing consumers. It will backfire for them. I've seen it happen. I've seen reviews be written by unhappy folks that expose the fact that the dealer's asking the customers to write reviews and giving them a $25 or a free oil change. I've actually seen that kind of practice backfire by consumers writing negative reviews about the practice that they have in place. What I would say is that going back to what I said about how people view third-party content, okay, I think for the most part, and when you think about how you view third-party content, it's fairly easy to kind of detect fraud. I think we've all seen it. You've seen it on Yelp, you've seen it on TripAdvisor, you've seen it on Google. I think most customers are pretty wise to that as well. So if a dealer is paying for it or they're hiring a service, usually there's a sort of trend because the business that they're using sort of posts reviews with multiple usernames, and there's usually like a trend that you see as a consumer that exposes the fact that they're fake. So, I would say just keep doing what you're doing, keep being organic about it, keep being true to building these positive, credible reviews, and you will end up winning out in the end. I know it can be frustrating if a dealer is doing that, but that type of business practice will backfire. I've seen it.
Hey, Marie, do you have any questions coming in from chat for people?
We have one question from Jerry Power. He asks, how do you respond to negative reviews, and should you?
Oh, sure. Yes. Number one, you absolutely should. Whether it's on Google or whether it's on DealerRater, you don't want to leave negative reviews kind of just sitting out there. Okay, I liken it to that. If the dump truck came by your dealership entrance and dumped a big pile of garbage outside of your dealership, would you go clean that up? Yes, you would, right? So if you have negative reviews, number one, you have to insulate yourself with positives. So that's kind of step one, is you don't want to just have negatives. You want to be proactive. So you want to have, for every one negative review, you've got 9 positives surrounding it. My rule of thumb with negative reviews, at least DealerRater, is, and I believe this with Google too, is most of the negative reviews, when you post a public response, most of the responses are time-stamped. Like it'll show the date of when you posted a public response. So my recommendation with dealers on DealerRater, if they have old reviews from, say, 2004 on DealerRater, I don't think you need to respond to those because they're so old, they're not even really relevant anymore. If you have reviews that are 2 years or newer, I absolutely recommend making a public response, okay? And the way you want to go about a public response, it's a pretty easy formula. You want to, number one, apologize, okay? Even if you have to, hold your breath and take a time out before you do this because the customer is a total jerk. I mean, I know you have high-maintenance customers that can't be pleased, that post negative reviews. Your response is not even really about that customer. Your response is about the next customer reading your response. That you have to think. So when you go to post, you want to always apologize. Okay? You want to let them know your upper management. You will reach out and try to rectify. Even if you know it's not fixable, you want to come across as reaching out and trying to fix the situation. So just as an example, dear Mr. Customer, my name is Heather MacKinnon. I'm the General Manager of Prime Toyota. I deeply apologize for the negative experience you had here. That is not how we do business at Prime Toyota. I would really like to speak with you directly to learn more about the experience that you had, to see if there's anything we can do to rectify it, and also make sure that this doesn't happen to future customers of Prime. Contact me at your earliest convenience. Heather MacKinnon, General Manager, Prime Toyota, my phone number. So that's how to go about it every time. Okay, just let them know your upper management. Always look at the side and start off with your contact info.
We also have a question in from Pete Richards. He said we are having a problem linking the pictures to our salespeople on DealerRater site. Any easy fix?
Yeah, well, yes. Email me, DealerRater.com, and I can absolutely kind of fix you up with that. That should be an easy process. We have a support team at DealerRater that would be happy to walk you through it, help you upload those, or just maybe give you some quick fixes. Typically, we take any type of picture, if it's a JPEG or a GIF. It might just be something that we need to look at. You might email us a picture and we can do a quick go-to-meeting like this with you to show you how to integrate or upload those pictures onto your profile pages. No problem. Just at DealerRater.com and I'll take care of that for you.
We also had a question from Gary. He said, how did dealer get the 2011 Dealer of the Year for DealerRater?
All right. So this is based on an algorithm that I need a higher IQ to properly explain. in a nutshell, what I'll explain to you is this, is that the DealerRater Dealer of the Year award is an award that's based off of a 12-month sampling of reviews. Okay, so we count each and every month. All right, so you have to have a minimum of 25 reviews over a year, number one. But what we look at is consistent reviews month after month after month. So the challenge that you have, if you signed up as a DealerRater dealer, 6 months into a calendar year, and you've generated 50 reviews for those 6 months, we're going to take a look at the previous 6 months and kind of count them as zeros. The likelihood of you winning that year would be slim because it's the overall average that we look at. So the key to keep in mind, to win it, you really need to be consistently month after month after month building a core number of positive reviews. It's based off of the Bayesian algorithm. If you want to Google that, you could kind of get more the technical definition of it. It's basically just a weighted score. Okay, it's Bayesian algorithm is you could Google that if you want to get more technical. But just be consistent month after month, and you have to be run over a 12-month period in order to really be in the running.
Great. We have a question in from Andrew Norris. We may have already gone over this, but what would you suggest is the best route to deal with an unhappy customer who is having multiple friends post negative and false reviews on our Google page?
Well, see those things that Google does not have the best fraud filter, okay, unfortunately, and I think it's just the size of, I don't know, maybe they just don't have bandwidth or they don't have the right people focused on it, but that is a complaint that I hear a lot, is that you can post kind of fraud on, and it goes undetected, and, it's hard to get removed. Say is that you want to go the same route that I showed Amanda. You want to get into your place page and you want to report a problem. You've got to be kind of a pain to Google. That is to get sort of the best turnaround. That if you just keep hitting them with the request to move the review, that breaks their terms of use. They shouldn't be. That breaks DealerRater's terms of use. You have to be the person really who had the experience in order to post on DealerRater, and you can't post multiple experiences or multiple reviews about the same experience on DealerRater. I'm pretty sure that Google probably has those same terms of use. They just don't act on them very promptly. So my suggestion would be to just continue to report the problem to Google. Unfortunately, you're just kind of on their time frame. So I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you, but you've got to be a pest.
We have a question in from Rihanna. This may be a question that she just needs to email you, but they ask, how do I add DealerRater to my website?
Email me, heather@dealerrater.com, and there's a couple different things you can do. You can, if you're a certified dealer, for instance, you can put DealerRater certified seal or homepage. That's something that a lot of dealers do. It's just a little bit of code that I can give you access to, and you can email that code off to your website. If you want to get that live testimonial feed up on your website, that's that filtered feed that has the latest 10 only positive reviews. Again, that's just a little bit of JavaScript code that I could give you access to, and you just email it right over to your website vendor, and it's a very, very easy fix, upload or whatever, both the certified seal and the testimonial feed. They just need to be emailed over to your vendor, and very easy for them to put up.
We have a question in from Kevin. He asks, what about Canadian content for dealers in Canada?
Good question, and actually I'm really, really excited to announce this week we just launched DealerRater.ca. So up until this week, Dealer.com has contained both U.S. dealers and Canadian dealers. And the downside for Canadian dealers was that it was a little difficult to get to the Canadian dealer review pages because the site is really set up for like the U.S. search. Okay, so DealerRater.ca is a dedicated site, meaning it's only the Canadian provinces are on that site. So it's way easier for a consumer to navigate. So I would just go check it out is probably your best. Just go to DealerRater.ca and you'll see that the site is now very easily set up and dedicated for Canadian dealers specifically.
Thanks so much, Heather. Well, I think that wraps it up. I don't see any more questions here. You, Maria?
I don't have any more questions in chat.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for your attendance, and we'd like you to complete a survey that will be delivered to you after you exit the webinar. And if you have additional questions or would like a hard copy or recording of today's presentation, please email Maria Burkell. That's mburkell@dealer-communications.com. And Heather, I want to thank you again so much. That was a great presentation.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks. And we hope all of you will stay tuned. And our next webinar, Making One Price Selling Work with Mark Rikus, will be held December 8th. And that's at 11:30 Eastern Time. We look forward to having you all back then.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes the webinar. Have a great day.